Dear Mr. President, Secretary General, dear speakers, dearest colleagues, Россия представила всем парламентариям.
Russia has introduced to all the parliamentary its history, its magnificence, and opened its heart to us. Thanks for welcoming us to St. Petersburg.
Dos terribles terremotos.
There have been two terrible earthquakes, and although we suffered those, it did help to receive words of solidarity, support and affection from other countries in the world. So thank you all for that support.
This time where Mexico is presenting a candidacy for the presidency of the Interparlamentarian Union. The spirit of this candidacy has been to consolidate an inclusive multilateralism as the space for dialogue, for building peace, and of course, very important for parliamentarians to work in that very important task. Multilateral dialogue represents the very best opportunity to generate, in one side, these conditions for dialogue, for stability, for sustainable peace, but also it represents the great opportunity for parliamentarians to translate the international instruments that our governments are negotiating, signing, and in a majority we have to ratify. We have to translate all these huge agreements, such as the Paris Agreement of climate change, of course, the Sustainable Development Goals, and some other instruments that are very important for the world. We need to really translate those big agreements into national law, into public policy, and into budget. That's the way people are going to have a benefit from all these external or international affairs. If we really want to make something for the people we represent, we really need to endorse these very important agreements and to make that local translation. IPU has a very important role in this very important goal, because we are the voice of all the voices in the world. And I am saying this because we represent the plurality. We represent different cultures, political parties, different religions, different ethnic groups. We represent the plurality far beyond even of the representation of the governments. We are the voice of all the voices of the world. That, my colleagues, that is the best challenge we can have as parliamentarians, and we must use that very important work to deliver very good results. I am a woman who believes in honesty as a motto for life. I have always worked hard defending my convictions and standing to my responsibilities. I am convinced that transparency and accountability are the core principles for democracy. My personal philosophy: the person should be put in the center of every public decision. We need to understand that the decisions we make are going to have a huge impact in the persons. For me, politics is an opportunity for convergence within diversity. For me, politics, dialogue constitutes a mandate. That's why we are in politics. I am convinced that societies, if we really want to make more inclusive societies, we need to understand democracy and human rights into our shared priority. I come from a Spanish-speaking country. I've been learning English since some years ago. Le premier engagement est très personnel.
My first commitment is an entirely personal one. I had the honour of meeting several of you at the Parliamentary Assembly of French-speaking countries, and I learned French in order to be able to communicate with you directly and speak to French-speaking parliamentarians.
Não pode ter somente duas línguas oficiais, o espanhol, o português e o árabe.
Non-official languages being spoken.
De pessoas em todo o mundo. E também devem ser da nossa organização. E vou trabalhar incansavelmente para que a UIP nos faça sentir em casa. Our proposals for a working plan. We need to build the IPU for the 21st century. The world is changing. We need to do so. We need to be an IPU with transparency, efficient, inclusive, and of course, well communicated. If we really want to have more women and more young parliamentarians, we need to change our strategy. We have been achieving very good results in terms of new countries joining the IPU. Of course, we are increasing in terms of women parliamentarians, young parliamentarians. But that's not enough. Our president has been saying a lot of times that we need to understand that now half of the population has less than 30 years old. We need to understand that they deserve to be included in our organization and in our parliaments. Of course, under this line, I wish, of course, to underline one that is very important for me, the women's parliamentarians. That group, which is really strong and with a very strong leadership, needs to be, of course, encouraged to go to other parliaments, to other national parliaments, to ask women parliamentarians to join our beloved organization. I'm sure that we're going to have very good results in our Women's Parliamentarian Forum. IPU should be always at the service of parliamentarians. We need programs for capacity building. We need, of course, to be close and to have, in order of this capacity building, more seminars, more spaces, for example, to understand better international law, some tools for communications, social media. Again, the world is changing. We need to find new strategies and new tools to do a better job as parliamentarians. Third, we need an IPU useful for the national parliaments. Useful in terms of communication, of course, but, and this is a Belgian proposal, we need to develop the app that now we are using for the assemblies in a complete all-the-year app in terms of being a platform with information about us, about a directory. It's a surprise that we haven't done a directory of the organization, but also about the things we are working with. If we really want to have more cooperation, we need to start being friends. We need to start knowing what the other parliamentarians who are just beside us are working in their countries. We need to exchange the best practices. We need, of course, to understand that we are a huge team. Four, IPU as a global actor. We need to work really close with the United Nations. We need to make proposals to give all the opinion that we represent to that very important space. Of course, we are politicians. I am in a campaign. I want to ask for your vote tomorrow morning, but also I want to ask you for your minds, for your hands, and for your hearts, and not only for tomorrow. I want to ask you for the next 3 years. If we really want to achieve all these results, and of course, this strategic plan of the IPU, we need to work hand by hand, heart by heart, for democracy, for everyone. Shukran.
Thank you very much, Gabriela.